up and speaking for the truth. And Jesus was doing that. This God who came to bring the truth and his law is perfect. And they're driving him out. And they're trying to get his commercial with his mother that's going to be played during the Super Bowl off the TV. Because they're celebrating family and celebrating life. That's simply what they're doing. Celebrating family and celebrating life. And he's saying, thank you, Mom, for having me. Thank you for having me. And there's an assault on him. And it's a fight against the truth. Anytime you stand up for the truth, there's going to be a huge... We see that hugely in our world today. Anytime there's a stand up to truth, they'll just shut it down. I want to say this. I've worked with many people who've had abortions. I've never met one who was glad that they had one. Because, in a sense, it goes against God's law. I also want to say this. There's healing in the church for those who have had abortions. Both the men and the women who've had them. The fathers suffer, as well as the mothers suffer that. So please, if you know someone, please bring them in for healing. A lot of times they're a million miles away from church. Church is the last place they want to go. As I talked about last week, around the sacrament of reconciliation confession, people either feel like, a lot of times they just feel like running away from that and running from God. But if we know the true God, and we know that his law is perfect, and it refreshes the soul, then we will run to him. We will run to God. And I really believe around the sacrament of reconciliation, we're either running from God or running to God. And I believe that can be part and parcel of our lives too. That we're either running from God or we're running to him. Because we know he loves us. And we know that he can light up our face such that it would light the dark night. He would change our countenance. He would change our life. And God is bigger than that decision. But abortion is wrong. And it always hurts everybody who's involved. Sin, you can never sin and be glad about sin after you've sinned. It can never make you happy. And so that's what Tim Tebow's standing up for. And thank God, when I think about Tim Tebow, I think, finally, an athlete who's really standing up for something that matters. Something that's going to last. Finally out. And his life proves it. Everybody talking about it. He's one of the greatest guys to come through college football beyond his excellence on the field. He does prison ministry in Florida. He reaches out. He takes other teammates to reach out to prisoners in Florida. He goes on mission trips in the summer and evangelizes and cares and serves for the poor. So it's very, very beautiful. He's just living out his vows to his God. He's loving God above all else, isn't he? Because if he wasn't, he could be worried about endorsements or what people are saying and what people are thinking, but he's loving God above all else. That's what our beautiful second reading today from St. Paul's all about, is the love of God. And a lot of people have misconceptions of love because they think, oh, I'm in love. I love to be in love. I was with a couple the other day that they have twin young children, and every second that I was with them for hours, they're caring for their children. That's love. It's not like, oh, this is, oh, it's so love. It's that commitment to their children and their best. M. Scott Peck described love like this, and it's one of my favorite definitions of love. It's to desire the highest spiritual good of the other. To desire the highest spiritual good of the other. Heaven, Jesus, and we must find, we cannot give what we do not have. So we have to seek love. That love. You don't get higher than Jesus. You don't have a greater love than Jesus. And you can't give a greater love than Jesus. So love is about giving people Jesus and the truth. And that we rejoice in the truth that life begins at conception. And we give our lives for that. And when that has been gone against, we ask for forgiveness and we experience God's healing in that. Life according to Jesus. And that's what we're vowed to. And that begins at baptism. Whether you realize it or not as a little baby, that's what you were vowed to. Is that love of God. going to Jesus. You are not your own. You are not your own. I am not my own. I belong to God. You belong to God. Life according to Jesus. What's life according to Jesus? I want to be there because I know the law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. I know that God has been doing it right forever. That's what I want. It's not a feeling. It's following that. Got another letter from someone and said, Father John, I really love this person, and I know you're not supposed to, but we want to cohabitate, and we want to try this out and see if it works. Do you know what percentage of couples divorce who cohabitate? 80%. Because it's not right. It doesn't work. When you're fully physically committed to someone and you're not committed to someone, I mean, in one way you're totally committed to someone, and in another way, when you're fully physically involved with someone, there's no commitment. That's a schizophrenic act. It doesn't make sense. And God says, don't do that. I don't want you to be confused. I don't want you to do it out of order. This is commitment. It's for life. Love does not end. We do not quit. We continue to work with each other. So it is being true. It's wanting the highest good for another. No matter what they throw at you. No matter what they throw at you. It's being true for that highest good. What do you believe? I think that would be a great exercise for you to go home and to write in a journal. This is what I believe. This is what I stand for. When's the last time you stood for anything that was tough? Where people were saying, you believe in that stuff? You believe that abortion's wrong? When's the last time that we stood for that? When's the last time we stood for our belief? And according to our belief, we can really block the Lord, can't we? We could really delimit the Lord. An example I came up with, just we're probably familiar with in our collective conscience here, is the case in Oregon City where the couple said, you know, we won't use any medications, we won't use any of that, we'll just believe in faith healing. That's, you're blocking the Lord because he works through medication. He works through medicine to help to heal children. That delimited what could be done for their child. There's many ways that we can delimit what God would do for us. Here's another challenging posing question. If an unbeliever came up to you and said, tell me about Jesus, talk to me about your faith, how much could we give them? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? All day long? How much could we give that person? Tell me about your faith. Tell me about the richness. I'm lost. I'm separated from life. Help me out. What would we say? Dare, we hope, not someone would say to us, how come you know so little about the God you profess? How come you know so little? You know, Jesus was Joseph's son. That's not going to do it. Jesus was Mary's son. Not going to do it. What level are we in our understanding of Jesus? Are we still back in grade school, high school, college, up to date? That's a challenge. St. Paul talked about that. Because when I was a child, I used to speak and act and think like a child, but now I'm an adult. Got to change that. I'm an adult in faith, living life according to Jesus. Love does not seek its own interest. Love seeks Jesus' interest. And when we have Jesus' interest and living Jesus' interest, we have the truth. Love rejoices in the truth.